Coach, I guess to start off with Tolu being named SEC Player of the Week this week, kind of take you back and to the Florida game down the stretch when he was on the bench and McNair finished that game, and since that time I think he's averaged like 20.4 and 10 rebounds in the last 4 games. The way you've talked about him, I'm sure the way he responded to that didn't surprise you at all.
No, it doesn't surprise me, and I was asked about that post-game, what do I tell Tolu, when he's obviously one of our main guys and he's not playing in a tight ball game down the stretch, and my response was nothing. I mean, he and I have a great relationship, and he gets it, and he wasn't playing great, and someone else was, so I have no idea if that has had any bearing on how he's played since. You'd have to ask them that. I have no clue. But certainly we're excited about how he's playing. Happy for him and the team to receive accolades like that in the middle of the season. I think everybody understands that certainly he individually, reaps the dividends of it, but it gives recognition for our team, and people have to give him the ball when he's open and, sacrifice some of their game when he's cooking like that. So he's deserving of everything he gets, and happy for him.
We'll go to coach's left and Steph in the front row.
I know you talked about this kind of when you guys were going to South Carolina about, not overlooking the opponent, things of that nature. I mean, when you made that pitch in the South Carolina game, is it easy to follow up and say the same thing about LSU when they're coming in this week?
I mean, we're guaranteed 9 more games in a marathon basketball season. I don't think that word will ever come out of my mouth the rest of the season. We're not in any sort of position to be overlooking anybody. We still know where we sit in the standings and what our record is in league play, and I'm sure LSU is frothing at the mouth to, play someone that has a 3-7 record instead of some of the teams that they played recently. So I just can't imagine that there'll be any of that in our locker room this afternoon, around the practice court, or all week for that matter. But I definitely don't feel like it needs to be addressed from me.
Theo, go ahead.
Like you mentioned with DJ the other day, what have you thought of Eric Reed's contributions on defense and rebounding, right now while his shots aren't really falling?
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Individually, we're all human, and when you work so hard at your craft and spend so much time in the gym like Eric does, and the ball doesn't go in the hole, it becomes frustrating. I know he's frustrated individually. His teammates have been great with him. They continue to encourage him to shoot the ball. We've continued to encourage him to shoot the ball. He had some great rhythm looks on Saturday that could have been huge, kind of get some separation baskets for us, especially in the second half. And he's going to knock him down. I got a lot of confidence in him. And like you said, if he wasn't doing the other things, he wouldn't be on the floor. But he's such a dependable defender, rebounder, understanding what we're trying to do in all facets of the game. He rarely turns the ball over, and he plays within himself. And that's a great quality to have as a college basketball player. So I think, when he starts making those shots, that'll be a huge, shot in the arm for us.
Back to Paul.
Coach, last week we talked about DJ Jeffries, and you mentioned him, trying to work with him to do more driving in the lane and dishing for others and taking for himself and taking those cuts in the paint. Obviously, we saw some of that Saturday, and I'm guessing that's what you want to see more of him.
Yeah, it was really good. One of my friends commented to me that doesn't live around here, that just watches us, that they had no idea that he was that athletic. I'm like, oh yeah, he can really move and glide, and he's definitely more athletic than maybe people give him credit for, and he's so good at it. I don't know why he doesn't do it more often. I think the 3 ball is so prevalent in our game. Everybody wants to shoot the 3, no matter what size or shape they are. It moves the needle, if you will, and if you walk into a gym, that's what everybody gravitates towards, right, is the 3-point line. And DJ's no different, but it's nice to see him, take some advice and understand that there's a lot of ways to impact the game, and he did that for us. He's getting in that lane. He's understanding how to slice cut, which is a term that we use, without the ball, and then kind of get the ball on the move. And when he gets downhill like that with his length and athleticism, he's hard to guard. So we've got to continue to find ways to put him and like guys like Cam Matthews, who's good at that as well, in those positions that can, get to the rim or get to the line or create some help situations and kick out for others. But it's not as if we've told him not to shoot the ball. I mean, he works at it, and he makes them in practice at a better clip than he makes them in games. And I fully believe, just like I talked about Eric earlier, that he'll make some shots for us. He's not shooting at the clip that we'd like for him to, or that he would like to. But it's not as if we've told him to, hey, you're done with the three ball. That's not the case. I want him to be judicious in his decision making with that shot, because let's be honest, he'll have chances. People aren't, trying to run him off the line or anything like that. He can get open shots as the shot clock dwindles, and that's the same for a lot of our guys. We talk a lot about not taking the bait, and we want to score early. We want to explore what there is to offer, what the defense gives you, but at the same time, understanding that we can't just throw it up because we're open. There's some shots out there that we've taken in almost every game that probably aren't the best for us right now, and that's a touchy subject, because you want them to play with great confidence and you want to give them a lot of freedom, and I think we do that. But at the same time, we want to play in that character that we talk about a lot with how we need to play to be successful.
Danny P.
Coach at LSU, he's trying to establish his program as well, kind of sort of like the same way we are. But what have you seen from his program that impresses you about how they're handling things right now?
They've had a similar season in terms of getting out of the gate strong, having a great non-conference portion of the season with their record. I'm sure, like us, the expectations weren't to get out of the gate like that. And then it raised expectations heading into league play. And they started off with that win against Arkansas and then lost by 3 at Kentucky. And then, they went through they're in the midst of a tough streak. But, just watching the game they played Saturday versus Alabama, I mean, they were in that game, all the way to the last 3-4 minutes of the basketball game. It was a 1 or 2 possession game all the way up until the end. And we all know how good Alabama is, so obviously it's impressive that they continue to compete and fight and scratch, and I'm sure it's very similar to what I've talked about, in that if you're playing at that level, then your practices are good. Your cohesiveness is staying the same, and and that's hard to do. We've won a few lately, so you would expect your kids' enthusiasm and mood to be better, and it is, but they've obviously kept it together, and I know they're starving for a win.
Back to Steph.
Kind of to follow up on what you were saying about Eric Reed earlier, I mean, Shaq had a stretch where, he was struggling from deep as well, and I think he's 7 of 12 the last 3 games from deep, I guess. Did you guys tweak anything with him, or was it just a matter of confidence and him seeing a couple fall through?
Yeah, again, you'd have to ask him, but from my perspective, I was telling him to shoot more. I was telling him he was turning down too many shots. He's a guard, and he's a scorer, and he's got to have that confidence internally. It's my job to try to help him in that area, like all of our guys, and he's got a wonderful shot fake. It's a heck of a weapon, but it's almost, to the point where he relies on it too much, and he turns shots down that we think he should take. And I hear his teammates telling him the same thing, and if you're paying attention, he's taking shots that normally in closeout situations when the defender is coming at him, he would have shot faked and tried to get in the lane and got to the basket or created for someone else. So he's heeding the advice, and he's shooting more open shots, and he needs to do that. And like you said, it's similar to Eric. I mean, we've seen Eric make shots. We've seen him have huge baskets in games for us that we've won earlier in the season. And we believe in him. We believe that he'll get it turned around, and that'll make a big difference in our ball club.
I guess kind of another follow-up there, Shaq, and we've seen Cam throughout the season. I mean, just kind of flooding social media with some impressive dunks throughout this year. I mean, Is there ever a point during a game where it kind of surprises you and you're like, oh wow, like he got up there pretty quick, like, or have you kind of gotten used to it at this point with Shaq and Cam?
Yeah, I'm used to it. I'm used to it. They definitely have had some highlight moments, and it's fun to be a part of it. And certainly, they're game changers. I mean, they're worth the same amount of points as a layup, but let's be honest. I mean, it just ignites the crowd. It ignites your own team. It causes timeouts sometimes by the opposing team when you're at home, and even on the road. I mean, they just make the team feel better. And so when we make athletic plays like that, it can only help our team, and we've had a bunch of them lately.